it seemed like England was like rock and roll heaven, which kind of in a way it is,
It is. If they like you.
Yeah. But there was not just one, not two, just like there was 4 like dedicated magazines to like rock, what was going on, new bands that we've never heard of. And in the back, they had a gig guide, right? It was which was much more impressive than the one in the Village Voice, right? There was like 5 pages of gigs.
Sure.
So, and then we met a few English people along the way who said, "Oh, you would love it over there." And like I thought the pilot was going to be Ringo and, the stewardess was going to be Twiggy. And like, I just thought everyone was going to be cool. And then we find that book, The Teds, which is a famous book.
Okay.
And we thought everyone was, well, it really turns out that 1/10000000th of 1% of any population are hipsters or scenesters or tribal members. So, but we thought England is the place. We had no plan. They had King's Road, and there was like famous picture. The Sex Pistols hang out at some clothing store there. And like, we just thought, and people know who Gene Vincent is there, and Eddie Cochran was died there, and there's a memorial still there for him. We couldn't find 2 people. Like all these kids that came to see us, nobody knew that we didn't like the Eddie Cochran song. They thought, they didn't really know even one layer down. So we decided in our heads that we're going to move to England, become rock stars. Great. So
whose idea was it first?
Well, it was kind of all of us, I think.
Really?
Really, a main goal was to get, I mean, it might have been my idea. I was good at like rallying the others, and I knew that I needed them.
Because it's similar to the Walker Brothers. They did the same thing.
Yeah.
They were a club band out here, and they thought, we got to get over there. And they just showed up there like knowing nobody.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what we did. And we had a passport. Massapequa post office. We had to take the picture. Went there, completely tooled up. Like high hair, blue velvet shoes, pink and black loafers, pink paper, like the whole thing. And like 3 suitcases just filled with vintage duds we collected, and the double bass and the guitar.
Wow,
and in my suitcase was a drum and a cymbal. So we think this is great. We get there, and there's immigration, same as it always has been. And someone comes and says to Brian and me, "You go on this line." Lee managed to slip away. Then you get to the immigration. "What are you doing here?" "I don't know." "Did you come to be a band?" "No." Like, we didn't know that was against the law. So we were grilled that we were going to come here and
steal money.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So Brian and I, Lee said he was coming to study classical music, and he had an aunt, friend of his mother's, that was going to put him up and he had some part of London that he said, and he got in. Brian and I, they detained us, finally gave us a special stamp for 2 weeks, because we said, we have to get back to somewhere where we can call our parents to give us the money to get us home. And they let us into the country with 2 weeks. Failure to leave in 2 weeks will be prosecuted with prejudice. I remember those words. And a stamp. Then we get in, and we vanished into the underworld of London. Went to Piccadilly Circus. We put the gear in a big giant bus locker that was this big, and we just hit the streets, not knowing where to go, not knowing a single soul. And then it gets into the Three Stooges of, "You said it was a good idea. No, you said it was a good idea. No, you said it was a good idea." We're fighting.
Yeah.
We had a few hundred pounds, which we thought was a lot of money. We stayed at a flea bag hotel a few nights, and we found ourselves homeless. Slept in Hyde Park. We were homeless guys wearing velvet jackets, And luckily it was the summer. It was the summer of 1980. But we had a bit of a plan. We were reading the backs of these papers, time out, and finding out what sounded cool. The Cockney Rejects. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
We turn up.
Good start.
3 Teddy Boys.
Yeah.
At a hardcore show.
Okay.
There was a riot broke out. They were throwing bottles at us. The police came in. We hid under the bar, and the lady said, "You guys better." The
wrong.
You know, the
wrong.
the lady Bobby with the big hat. She said, "You guys better get out of here." It was just adventures like that. Meanwhile, we had no food, we had no money. We meet a couple of strangers who would help us. We flopped here, like Sid and Nancy house for a while, that kind of thing. So, we finally knocked on enough of these doors and turned up at enough of these parties that we just found out about. That then you realize that the Fulham Greyhound, the Fulham Golden Lion, the Marquee, the Dingwalls, all these famous clubs, they need bands to play there. They need 5 bands a night, 7 nights a week to play. So from hanging around enough of them, we finally got to, well, Clive books the bands. You might want to talk to him. So, hey, Clive, all right, you could have next Tuesday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We're this great band. We're from New York. We didn't have a demo. We didn't have we had nothing.
Well, you are called the Stray Cats.
Yes. Yes. Which in New York, we were called the Tomcats. And then we were in London and we had nowhere to live, nothing to, and Cats was, hipster.
Yeah.
So Lee Rocker came up with Stray Cats and it fit perfectly because we were always something Cats. And we used to go play New York City once a month, worrying about your draw. We were the Tomcats. We were the Blue Cats. We changed the name a few times.
Yeah.
But we're in London and we finally get the crack where we had lined up 2, 3, 4 of these little pub gigs to go on at 4 p.m. And so we'd been hanging around these clubs and parties, kind of making a nuisance of ourselves for 2-3 months now, saying how great we were. So the first couple of gigs we played, there was maybe 20 people who turned up to see the 4 o'clock slot at the Rock Pub. Not everyone played there. Those 4 or 5 people were at Lemmy, Chrissie Hynde, Strummer,
wow,
Matlock. There was a few because they were hipsters, and we were bothering them all the time. So someday we're gonna make all right. So like all right, those crazy guys from New York are finally playing a gig. Let's check it out.
I see.
So we were on at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and a few hipsters from London, and then a few faces like Chrissie Hynde, like I said. The other guys in the Pretenders and a Hell's Angel who was hanging out there. Like that was the first people we played for. And of course it was really good. We had been playing 4 sets a night, 5 nights a week and then had the handcuffs on for a couple of months while we were homeless. And we were really good.
And hunger is a great
actual hunger. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, hunger is a great motivator.
Exactly right. So, holy mackerel. Chrissie Hynde, her boyfriend was Ray Davies back then, and she told him, and the next time we played in the pub the next week, Ray Davies was at the show, and we had a guy who was helping with the equipment. We met at the one rehearsal place that we managed to spend £5 and make sure we could play. His sister was the girlfriend of Joe Strummer. So, okay, I'll go down and see my girlfriend's brother hump the guitars for some band from New York, right? So people start to talk. Next week in Melody Maker, they asked Strummer, "What are you doing, Joe?" "Well, I'm working on a new Clash album, and I saw this band from New York the other day." And Ray Davies, "What are you doing, Ray?" And then "Well, I'm working on the new Kinks album, and I saw this guy. He reminded me of Eddie Cochran, this band from New York." So that starts to happen.
Wow!
And because of the 5, 6, 7 music papers every week that they have, then someone wants to come down and actually interview us, right? So one of these shows, we played at a place called The Venue, Victoria Station. It was owned by Richard Branson. It was like a cool joint. We play our gig going on first, and the word had gotten out a little bit, and we knew, but we didn't quite know. We go on to play, and at a table right smack in the middle were the Rolling Stones. All members of the Rolling Stones. Supermodel wives in tow, like paparazzi, a few of their minder types. This party of 10 or whatever, right in front of the stage. And it's them. And they're smart guys, man. Still to this day, they know the hip young band to open up for them.
Oh, yeah.
So they were good. We did half an hour set, stood on the drum, spun the bass around, jumped off the amp.
The greatest hits, yeah.
The whole thing. And they knew it wasn't our song. They knew that was a Gene Vincent song.
Of course,
They're Rockabilly boys at heart, And after the show, we were whisked to, they wanted an audience with us. And the paparazzi was there, and Keith stands up and knocks the ashtray over, and, Mick takes me by the, like the whole thing happened, right? The whole thing. And so,
just like you imagined, Jack.
Yeah, it's just like we said. Yeah, exactly. So the next couple of days, it's not in the Melody Maker. Joe Strummer seen at this band from New York. This is Mick Jagger embracing Brian and, Keith knocking over the champagne, like in the Daily Mirror.
Oh, yeah, it's over now.
So it's not the Melody Maker, it's the Daily Mirror now.
Yeah.
So you go from a few hundred hipsters reading these music mags to the national press.
Yeah.
Lady Di cutting a ribbon and a band next there. And that's what it was.